Let's get ready to mortgage. He is the prince of programs, guru of guidelines, master of matrices. He puts the fun in funding. Please welcome Mark, Mr. Mortgage Eitel.
All right, you heard the man. My name is Mark Eitel, and you are listening to the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you are in the right place if you want the data and the information that you need to make better real estate and mortgage decisions for you and your family. And I'm talking about the real data, not just the headlines, because as you know, if you listen to this show, we dive past the headlines each week and give you the real scoop so you know what's going on in this market, because it is super confusing out there. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? Should I consider refinancing? Heck, I'm going to grow vegetables and just go move into a tent because this economy's got me scared. So we're going to cover all of your questions, as we always do. We'll get to your questions a little later in the show. But we're going to get started here in a second. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a shout out to Willow Title Services as our featured sponsor. I know Heather and her team do an amazing job, and you're going to hear their spots throughout the show. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to Heather and her team at 561-737-1630. That's Willow Title Services. Or check them out online at willowtitleservices.com. And we have a special guest today that we're going to get to after the break, so I'm super excited. But as always, we're going to start with the headlines, so let's dive right in. There was an interesting article released this week about Primerica did the data. And they were talking about middle-income families falling behind with all of this inflation. It's costing too much to live, and there's a lot of people feeling the pinch. And we talk about it all the time, whether you're a fixed-income senior or a first-time buyer or just, someone who's trying to make it from day to day. We're feeling the pinch like never before. And I found this article super interesting because they said 75% of middle-income families said just that. They're falling behind. And it was interesting, only 16% of people surveyed think the economy is going to be better next year than it is right now. So everybody's feeling this pinch. But as we read through the article, I did find it kind of interesting that, let me flip through some pages here. Only 14%, I'm sorry, I had that number wrong, expect their personal economy to be better later in the year. 77% say it's likely America will be in a recession by the end of this year. Guess what, folks? We're already in that recession. So if you haven't heard, you heard it here first. Actually, you've been hearing it here for about 6 months. So technically, we are in a recession. 61% believe the American economy will be worse off next year. 14% think it will improve. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, my God, Mark, should I jump off a building? Why all the bad news? You're usually the happy guy. No, I'm going to keep reading because it does get a little better on the other side of this. 71% of the people say they're cutting back on restaurants and takeout food. Not great for our local economy because hospitality really got nicked up during the pandemic, but it looks like there's going to be cutbacks in those expenditures. 69% of people said they plan to keep their current technology. So sorry, iPhone, that new iPhone purchase might be put on hold for a year. But where I'm going with this, I thought this was super interesting. Still, nearly 39% of people surveyed say they're going to take that vacation this year. So it can't be that bad if we're still going to Disney World, but we're lugging our iPhone 12 along with us, or 13. I'm not even sure what the latest model is. So I wanted to share that because that headline got a lot of press and was republished all over the internet. There was just a lot of data around the consumer getting pinched. But yeah, we're going to move on from that and dive into housing, which is what this show is all about. And we saw this week another article. This was in Mortgage Professionals magazine. They were talking about sales of existing homes plunged for the 5th consecutive month. And I always love those big words: plunge, spike, surge. It's always these big, scary words that these headlines invoke. But they were talking about total sales transactions were 5.97 million in June of 21, and they fell 5.4% month over month to a seasonally adjusted 5.12 million. So 800,000 less transactions. I don't know, maybe that's a plunge, but there's still 512 million transactions that happened in this data reporting period. So I don't know how scary that is. I think we've all experienced that the upward pressure on interest rates has cooled demand a little bit. But I know in my personal practice, we're seeing a lot of buyers still super active in this market. And one of the encouraging things that we're finding is the seller's willingness to participate in negotiations again. You know, this time last year, the seller was demanding a pint of your blood, your firstborn, and your life insurance policy. And now they're willing to maybe come down on the price a little bit, maybe help. We talk about it all the time. Maybe negotiate a discount and then better use that discount by paying your closing costs with it as a seller contribution or buying the rate down. So we are seeing that, and we're still seeing real estate trade at a very, very healthy clip. So I found that interesting. Later in the article, they say the median home price has jumped up nationally to $416,000, marking the 124th consecutive increase. Now, think about that for a minute, guys. Property values are still going up. Properties are still being sold. This doesn't sound like bad news. It's bad news if your budget doesn't allow you to participate in buying a property. That, no question about it. But not bad news from the standpoint that a crash is coming. And we've talked about it all the time on this show. It's supply and demand. It doesn't matter what the cost of the money is. It really doesn't. That doesn't have a direct effect on what's happening in the market. It's slowing demand, right? I do get that. There were some people that were right on the cusp of being approved or qualifying, and now they can't. But they can qualify for something less. They're just having to taper down the American dream in their mind. So it's not that people are not buying properties. It's not that properties are depreciating. Everything is just slowing down a little bit. And I pulled a really interesting article to support this, and this was all around investors. So these are people, and this is, I'm going to post this to the Facebook page. Go check out the Facebook page. Go to Facebook and search Mr. Mortgage. What is it, Dom? Oh, the Mr. Mortgage Show. We've got the podcast at Mr. Mortgage Radio, so there's too many Mr. Mortgage URLs running around in my mind. But go to Facebook, search the Mr. Mortgage Show, and I'll post this article there for you as well. But it talks about the retail housing market. That's, the Joneses are selling to the Smiths. And the retail housing market saw the median asking home price drop 1.5%. So sellers were already asking too much. Properties weren't appraising. That sales price has come down to 1.5%, or come down 1.5%. Sorry about that. But what I found really interesting in this article, they were talking about investors. Now, the investors are the guys who have their finger on the pulse. These are guys who go to foreclosure auctions and buy a property with the intent of selling it, typically in 6 months or less. They're pulling back a little bit the percentage of discount that they're looking for. And they pulled back to 17%, which kind of blew me away because I was super surprised that they were spending, more than that, because that puts your offer at 83%. If my math, 83%. So that's a big risk to take, paying 83, 85, 90% of what the perceived value is in anticipation of being able to sell it at a profit. Now, they were clearly banking on the appreciation cycles of the past and benefiting from letting time just outpace, any cost of ownership and cost of renovation. But going back to May, they were becoming a little more conservative. And that's played out in the June numbers. Now, the July numbers from the NAR aren't released yet. So the June is the most recent data we have to evaluate against it. But the investors are kind of the harbinger, kind of the precursor of what's happening in the market. And they are looking at a few less properties and bidding slightly less. And it's only slightly. It's not significantly less. And I'll post this article there too. And I'm not going to run too far down this bunny trail because you guys know I geek out on the numbers. But I just thought that was interesting. I'm shifting my focus to watching the investor activity. And I'll keep posting these auction.com articles because they're the ones that publish the data. And I find it super, super interesting. So we're going to take a short break here in just a minute. On the other side of this break, I got a special guest who has a lot of insight into what's happening in the market too. And I'm super, super excited to introduce you to this person. So hang in there. We're going to be back in 2 very short minutes to get to your questions and then to introduce you to our special guest. We'll be right back after this break.
Buying a home can be stressful. Willow Title Services will help you close the deal. Offering tailored services for your unique home buying needs, you'll have a single team member guide you from day one to the day you get your keys. They have a combined 50 years of experience. So trust the closing experts and contact them today. Visit WillowTitleServices.com. That's WillowTitleServices.com. Willow Title Services is rooted in experience to help you get to closing.
Here's another 5-star review.
My wife and I own a small business. And the way our accountant file our taxes, we don't show much income on tax returns. Because of this, it looks as if we don't make the money. This was a problem for our bank when we applied for a mortgage. But not for Mark. He verifies our income by using our monthly bank statements. Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team made a big difference for me. Yes, I am happy to recommend Mr. Mortgage Mark.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com, www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel, and you heard the announcer. Write that number down, 561-291-8569. That is the Anytime hotline, and that's how you get your questions answered right here, right now, today on the air. Dom, my producer, is always on that hotline. So if you text or call that number, he'll get your questions on the air. That number is 561-291-8569. But before we get to your questions, I want to introduce you to somebody. You've heard me bragging about Willow Title Services now for about a month, and I do so because they're rock stars. So the title side of things it's not flashy. It's not like real estate where you've got, the really sexy Instagram posts of the real estate agents in front of the leased cars and, $200,000 over asking 24 hours on the market. That's like the front of the restaurant, right? That's the beautiful dining room and the great experience. Well, behind the scenes, sometimes you don't actually want to see what's going on back there, but the kitchen is what makes it all happen, right? They're the ones that are doing the heavy lifting and making all of that pretty cool social media stuff happen by making the transaction smooth and facilitating the transaction. So that's why I brag on Willow. Well, I've got in the studio with me today Heather Candela, who runs Willow Title Services, and I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk to her and let you guys meet her and become just as big of a fan of hers as I am. So, hey, Heather, how are you?
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited that you're here. I know none of us wake up and say, I aspire to be in real estate. Mm-hmm. I want to be a title agent. I know I didn't wake up and I was going to be an astronaut or a fireman, and here I am, a mortgage guy. So what pulled you into title?
My mom, actually, I grew up with her in the business, just watching her go crazy. And I was like, I'll never do what you do. And here I am, I started just filing for her back in the day when we had filing cabinets.
Remember those days, right? Now it's all electronic.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Now everything's online. Yeah, that's awesome. So you were that big-eyed kid bouncing around the office helping mom, and from there you are now running the team. You took over the operation, and you kind of are taking it into the future. That's super cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Thank you.
One thing you and I were talking about, and I'm going to get to why I think you're special and why I think Willow's special. But, let's cover all the basics for the people out there because, at the end of the day, we do have to provide the service and facilitate the transaction. But you were telling me a story. And for you listeners who don't know this, I was in the Willow Title offices, and we were kind of sitting around the conference table shooting the breeze about, the craziest deals we ever had. And I was bragging that I had to drive to Key Largo to have documents signed one time. And this goes back to when you physically the applications were handwritten, and, there was carbon paper and press hard, sign here type of thing. And you one-upped me. You jumped in the car and drove all the way to Jacksonville one time, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think that's super cool, because in the flashy age that we live in, people forget that sometimes, even though it's not your fault, and in your case, most of the fires you put out, you didn't start.
Right,
We just kind of shove everything down the pipeline, and then it all lands on the title agent's desk, and they have to sort it out. But I thought that was super cool that you were still willing to do a 7.5 hour round trip to make sure that client's transaction closed smoothly, and none of that was your responsibility. I thought
they would have been homeless. I would have felt bad because I knew them, and they sold all their furniture for their move. So it was really important that it closed and funded, because if the seller didn't get money, they would have killed the deal. So
Right.
It was very important, and I had to do what I had to do.
I love that. And guys, I guess that's what I'm getting at. So I had to do what I had to do. You heard Heather say that. And that's how they run the company. Now, they run the company in a way that they don't have to do that. Not regularly, but in this instance, she jumped in, put the cape on, came flying out of the phone booth, and flew up to Jacksonville and saved the day.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a good analogy, because anybody who listens to the show knows I think in pictures. And I came up with this idea when I was driving in this morning about title. You're kind of like the pilot of the airplane. And I had a flight several years ago, and I was flying with somebody who was super nervous, and I didn't realize how frightened they were to fly. And I fell asleep. I can't help it. As soon as the plane takes off, I'm out. I don't know if it's the motion, the cabin pressure, but suddenly I'm taken back to my youth, where I'm in the car seat in the back of my mom's car, and I'm back there snoring. So I fell asleep, and I didn't wake up until we landed in Atlanta. It was the jar of the plane landing that woke me up. And I looked over, and the person I was traveling with, it looked like they saw a ghost. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I dozed off." And, I get punched in the ribs. "Dozed off? You slept through the whole thing. You were snoring." And I said, "Well, okay, I apologize. I can't believe you slept through that. We went through a storm."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, wow, that's what a good title agent, that's what a good transaction is the pilot navigated that plane around the storm, and I slept through the whole thing. And I think oftentimes, because you make the transaction so smooth, nobody realizes what's going on behind the scenes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you land the plane, and everybody shakes hands and high fives the pilot, and off they go.
Right.
But behind the scenes, a lot of that had to happen. So, no, I think that's super cool, and I think that's a big part of your operation, is you run a great operation and facilitate the transaction smoothly. And when it doesn't go smooth, like the Jacksonville story, you make it happen. Mm-hmm. But what I think makes you special, one of the reasons I'm a fan, is you don't only profit from the community by facilitating these transactions, but you're building the community. You're giving back to the community. And if you're open to share a little bit of that side of things, because I think in the day and age that we live in, there's a lot of people, we're in a consumer society, we're all about top line profits and this and that, and we forget about the mom and pop shop that turned into a good sized company that are servicing the community. But you guys take it one step further. Can you share a little bit about that, about where your heart is and what you're doing?
Yes, thank you. So the Soup Kitchen has been around for years and years, and we've been serving the Boynton Beach area in particular for years and years as well. And I feel the importance of impacting your local community is so important these days, because everybody is struggling. Everybody is going through something. We all have a story, and it could be any one of us in that Soup Kitchen line on any given day.
Yeah.
So I feel like if we're able, we should. Right. And we do.
Yeah.
So I love what they're doing over there for people in general. And I look forward to helping them help others, as long as I can.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm not to get, too airy-fairy and run down this path, but I heard it said a long time ago that the hand that's open to give is also open to receive. And you guys are opening your hands and really digging in at a community level. And listen, we work in an industry where people are buying and selling houses, but there are people in our community that don't have houses.
Yeah.
There are people in our community that are struggling with, as you mentioned, just having a hot meal. And I think it's super cool that you have created a company that is facilitating that house-to-house transaction for consumers and then taking some of that and giving it right back to your local community. So I'm super excited about that, being a part of it and watching your journey and jumping in where we can. I know next time, we didn't make the last Soup Kitchen fundraiser, but I want to make the next one, so I'm excited about that.
Absolutely.
Are there any big plans for you and your company in the future? There any big things you're working on that you can share? If you can't share them now, we can wait, but I'm just wondering because I know what you guys are doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, expansion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's great because this is a Florida company, a Palm Beach County company that is still true to their roots, based in the town that you were started in, right? You guys started in Boynton, am I correct?
Mom started, I want to say from our house, but then in Deerfield, and then we moved to Boynton a long time ago, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So still right there, a big part of the Boynton Beach community, and then just growing along the way from there. So I'm assuming north, but we'll get into that at another time if you're not ready to talk about it. But yeah, I'm super excited. Guys, if you're looking for a good title agent, realtors, hey, you know how important a title agent, investors, we talked about investors in the opening segment. You guys know what it takes to close an investor transaction. Give Willow a shout. They're awesome. They do the transactions from the smooth ones to the hairy ones where they're landing in an airplane through a storm. And don't tell Heather I said this, but she'll drive to Jacksonville if you need her to. No, I'm kidding. Don't make her drive to Jacksonville, but give her a shot at your title work because they are rock stars, and I'm super proud to know them, and I think you will be too. So thanks, Heather, for coming in today.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you.
Hey, you hear that music rolling up? That means we're going to jump into a very short break. On the other side of this break, we're going to dive into your questions.
Buying your home is likely the biggest transaction you'll ever make. With stakes that high, you need certainty. Willow Title Services strives to take the stress away by providing a single point of contact with clear communication, resulting in a painless and positive experience. Willow Title Services has over 50 years in industry-leading and closing techniques, rooting them in the experience needed to get you to close. Call Willow Title Services at 561-737-1630 or online at willowtitleservices.com.
Here's another 5-star review.
We started our loan with a different company. They said we were approved, but at the last minute they told us there was a problem. I still don't know what went wrong, but thankfully our real estate agent told us about Mark. I was pretty stressed, but it's the perfect house, so we gave Mark a shot. He got it done. I'm not sure what was different, but I don't really care. We even got a better interest rate and with less money out of pocket than the first guy quoted us. It was a great surprise. Yes, I'm happy to recommend Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com, www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right. We are back. My name is Mark Eitel, and you heard that big burly announcer. with the boxing bell. I swear every time he says that, I want to come running out in some shorts and a robe. Well, wait a minute. Dom doesn't want me in here in shorts and a robe, not with that beer belly. When I was a kid, I had a six-pack and long hair. Now I'm bald with a big beard belly. But anyway, so that's what that makes me think of. But you heard the man, 561-291-8569. That's the Anytime hotline. I know we've got some questions stacking up, and we're going to throw it over to Dom in just a second. But I asked Heather to hang out with us for a little while longer because I forgot to mention a couple things, and we talked it through during that break. There are a couple things I wanted to throw out. We're moving into an environment where the market is shifting, and there may be some short sale opportunities. And listen, we went through this, and that's one thing I really admire about Heather and her team. They were here during the Great Recession. They saw the ride up and down of real estate, and a short sale is not an easy transaction. You need people on your team that know what's going on, and you guys are really good at short sales. So I just wanted you to hang with us for a little while because I forgot to mention that. So are you guys prepped for that? If the market starts to shift, you ready to jump back in that world?
We're ready. Oh, yeah. Bring it.
And then lastly, one other thing I forgot to mention. I talked so much about what you do for the community, right? The soup kitchen. And we didn't talk about this, but you also love cats, and you take care of the feral cat community. And I'm a big fan of Spay, Neuter, and Release, and Paws to Help, and all those guys. Matter of fact, we might do something with Paws to Help because I think that's a great organization.
Let me know. I'd love to.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But we talked about something I wanted to throw out there too, because real estate agents have a big decision to make when they're choosing title to guide their clients to. And you do a lot for the real estate community too. And I know you got something coming up in August. The date's not set in stone yet, but we have a lot of agents who listen to the show, and I wanted you to throw this out there for them too, and maybe they can get in touch with you now and get their name on the list. But what do you have going on?
Nice. So for another fundraiser for the Soup Kitchen, I wanted to incorporate a headshot happy hour of some kind for agents. I know I'm due for a new headshot myself, so I figure let's get a photographer. Actually, my neighbor is one, so another small business connection there.
Perfect.
You never know if you need listing photos or anything like that, so I figure bring him in. I need a food truck. So if anybody knows a food truck,
you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody who wants to participate in this, who has a food truck or access to one, give Heather and her team a call at Willow Title. And the best way to get Heather is 561-737-1630. But yeah, headshots are super important for agents because we all know that agent who has her high school graduation picture on her business card and she's 65 years old now. I stopped doing headshots when my hairline was moving back faster than, anyway, I don't want to go down that road, but I could probably use another headshot too, but I'm getting a lot less hair, so I'm holding on to mine. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. We want to get people out there. So agents, check out Willow Title Services. Be a part of that headshot happy hour fundraiser. The money that you contribute for the headshot's going to go to the soup kitchen. So it's a win-win. You're getting your beauty shot, and you are also helping an amazing organization. Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Hey, Dom, let's throw it over to you. See what we have question-wise.
All right. Julie sent this one in. How are my deferred student loans factored into my debt?
Hey, that's a great question. So I'm seeing a lot of people with this question lately because there's a chance student loans are going to get pushed back even further. I think September 1 was the repayment date was supposed to start, and there's some murmurings that they're going to be pushed back again because nobody wants to start debt collection in a election year. If you ever thought politics wasn't a popularity contest, this may be a glaring example of that. But to answer your question, depending on the loan program, your outstanding balance is multiplied either by 0.5% or 1%. And that's what your monthly payment, even though you're not making a payment, that's what they're going to count against your debt to income ratio. So if you owe $50,000, depending on the loan program, they're going to calculate $250 a month towards your debt side of your DTI calculation, or or $500 or $250. I got myself sidetracked there, but either 1% or 0.5%, depending on the loan program. So, hey, Dom, what else do we have teed up?
Susan is asking, how long does it typically take to get approved? We're ready to look at some houses, but the agent says we need to be approved first.
Hey, that's a great question. So we have a saying around my office that we drive the bus, but you control the gas pedal, the accelerator. So really it comes down to how quickly you can provide your documentation. So if you've got your tax returns, your pay stubs, your bank statements all together, you're typically looking at a 24, maybe a 48-hour turn time if it's a complicated approval, but usually within a day. Now, all of that's predicated on you having all of your documents in order. If you don't and you're dragging, a couple days behind schedule, pulling documents together, that's going to delay you because in this market, nobody wants to accept a pre-qualification. So a true approval requires those documents. So I hope that answered your questions. If you need more information about that, give us a call during the week. That anytime hotline rings to my office when we're not in the studio, 561-291-8569. But I hope that helps. Dom, what else do we have?
Harry emailed this. Can we buy a foreclosure with a mortgage or do we need to pay cash?
Hey, Harry, that's another good question. So typically you can, but oftentimes things are moving so quickly and sometimes the properties are in disrepair, so cash is the better way to go. But for example, you hear me talk about it. I get questions all the time. Where do we find foreclosures? And one is auction.com, and we use the auction.com data in the opening segment. And then secondly, a lot of people are looking for HUD foreclosures, which are the FHA loans that went into foreclosure. Those are easier to buy with a mortgage, especially with an FHA mortgage. But it's really going to come down to the condition of the property. But if you need more information, give me a call because you can do it. You just have to be ready. Like the previous question, you want to be all ready to go with your approval. So all you have to do is plug in a property. But before I forget, if you want to check out those FHA foreclosures, go to HUD, HUD, homestore.com. And they're listed by state. And then it populates by county, and you can search by price. It's a pretty robust website, but HUD Home Store is a good place to look, and then auction.com. So, hey, Dom, what else do you have over there?
Marlene is asking, I hear your commercial for really great agents. When I interview an agent, what should I be asking? What would you ask? I'm new to this.
Well, we talked about that agent a minute ago with the fancy website and in front of the Instagram post with the $200,000 over asking price in 24 hours. That all sounds super cool. I don't know that would be my first question, though. I think I'd be looking for somebody I have rapport with first, because you guys are going to spend a lot of time together. And despite everybody's smiling demeanor the first time you meet, it's stressful. I mean, there was a statistic we read on the air a while back that 60% of people cry during the transaction. So you're going to want to be with, and Heather's next to me nodding because she knows she sees more agents than I do. But that's definitely something, rapport. And then I would ask them things like, am I going to be working with you, or do you have a team and someone else is going to be spearheading the transaction? Which is awesome. I have a team. But you want to know that, because if the rapport that you have is with your agent, but there's somebody that's leading that transaction, either as a showing agent or a buyer's agent, you want that equal rapport with them. And then I would talk to them about, have you sold homes in my neighborhood before if you're thinking of listing, or have you worked with first-time FHA buyers before? Make sure their practice, their skill set meets your needs, I think is the biggest thing, because it's too easy to scroll through social media and see the guy or the gal who's just slaying it, and you think that they're the best choice, but they might not be the best choice for you. So you know what I'll do? I'm going to post to the Facebook page maybe a list of like 10 questions to ask your agent, to ask your mortgage broker, and maybe I'll even throw title in there. I'll get Heather's help on that one, because I think it's super important to choose the right team. But if you're looking for a really great agent, check out the website reallyGreatAgents.com. You can send us a message and we'll give you 2 or 3 people that we've personally worked with that you can interview. So great questions. You hear the music. That means it's time for another break. We're going to be right back for more of your questions. Thanks.
New to South Florida and ready to sit down roots with a new home? Willow Title Services makes closing a smooth, painless, and positive experience. With individual service for each buyer's needs, Willow Title Services has a combined 50 years plus of experience with industry-leading closing techniques. Call Willow Title Services today at 561-737-1630. That's 561-737-1630. Online at willowtitleservices.com. Willow Title Services is rooted in experience to help you get to closing.
Here's another 5-star review.
As a realtor, I have a bunch of mortgage brokers to choose from, but I prefer to work with Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team. In this crazy market, there is no room for error, especially on the mortgage side. Mark's team moves fast, keeps everybody in the loop, and makes things happen. They always give my clients a great deal and take the time to walk them through every step of the process. When you're considering a lender, I encourage you to talk to Mark Eitel and the Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com. www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel. You are listening to the Mr. Mortgage Show, where it is our goal each week to give you the information, the data, the tips, the tricks, the strategies that you need to make better real estate and mortgage decisions for you and your family. And I'm still joined by Heather Candela from Willow Title Services. And she and I were just talking about the landlord loan that we mentioned a couple shows ago. And she brought up a really good point, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. In the past, that loan program was limited to 4 units, and now it's available up to an 8-unit property. And we were sharing some strategies and some objectives to jump into the landlord game. And anyway, it was just interesting, and I thought I would share that with you because in the past it was limited to 4 units. And as always, if you're buying an investment property, a multi-unit property, and you're going to move in one of the units, you can qualify for conventional financing. So just wanted to throw that out there. But hey, let's keep your questions rolling. This is always my favorite part of the show. What do we have over there, Dom?
Charles sent the text. I heard you talk about using a reverse mortgage to buy a home. I don't fully understand this. Can you explain? We are in our early 70s, if that matters.
Hey, that's a great question. So while I'm thinking about it, do you guys close reverse mortgages, Heather?
We do.
That's awesome because not every title company is endorsed to close them. So that's one more shout out to the Willow team because the reverse mortgage space moves at a slower pace. It requires a little more explanation. And I know we've shared it in the past on the show. The reason I got into the reverse space was because of someone very close to me. And Heather's team has the heart to serve that community really well too. So you're not going to get, just shuffled through this. They're going to take the time to explain it. But let me answer your question because I think it's a brilliant question. And I throw this out there often, and sometimes I run right past it and I don't take the time to walk you through it. So let's use the example that I probably used last time because it's one of my favorite ones. But you raised your kids, you have the house, most of the time now it's free and clear, and it's worth $500,000. And maybe the neighborhood's changed and you don't want to be in a neighborhood full of a bunch of kids anymore. And you kind of want to take that slower pace and be, in that really cool new 55 plus neighborhood that has the little bus that takes you to the mall and takes you to Whole Foods. And there's the pickleball courts and the 3 swimming pools and the gym and that active lifestyle with like-minded people in your own age group that you're really going to live out the rest of your life in the most active way possible, the most fulfilled way possible. And let's say those units are $500,000. So you could sell your house, right? $500,000, boop, in your pocket, and run right over there and take that $500,000 right back out of your pocket, give it to somebody like Heather, who's going to push it across the table to someone else. And now you've got your house in that new neighborhood, but you're still up against the same challenges, right? You don't have that cash in the bank. You may be on a fixed income. Inflation's crushing you. I mean, we're all going to the grocery store paying twice as much for far less in our basket than we did, as recently as a year ago. And gas, while it's coming down, is still way over $4. So you're in this position where basically you traded one house for another, but you didn't improve your cash flow, you didn't improve your lifestyle. That's where a reverse to purchase can work, because you can take, and these are round numbers. It all has to do with your age, property value. There's a lot of moving parts. But if you sell that first house, take that $500,000 and put it in your pocket, now pull $250,000 of it out to buy the new property with a reverse mortgage. You're never going to make a mortgage payment. You will have to pay your taxes. You will have to pay your insurance. You will have to pay your association fees, but you're not going to have any debt service on that $250,000. They may even pay you back a little bit each month because you meet the equity position requirement for the reverse. But you put $250,000 in the bank, you put $250,000 on the new property, and now you've upgraded your lifestyle, you've improved your cash position, and you're where you need to be to offset the expenses of this inflationary cycle that we're in. So a lot of people don't even know you can do it, and there are a lot of mortgage companies out there. If you ask a loan officer about a reverse mortgage, he may do what I just did and mumble through it, or he may just glaze over. Now, if you ask him about a reverse to purchase, there's a good chance he's going to glaze over. So I throw that out there because it's not commonly known, but it's an awesome, awesome program if those circumstances stack up the way I just described. So I appreciate that question. And as always, anything regarding reverse mortgages, give us a shout, 561-291-8569, right? 8569. Dom's laughing at me because I can't remember the number. 561-291-8569. That's how many numbers are bouncing around in my head. But anyway, and now we have Willow on the team that can close that transaction for you. So thank you so much for that question, and let's see if we have another one teed up.
We do. Denise wants to know, we tried buying last year with a VA loan. Our agent said VA loans weren't getting accepted. We'd like to try again before signing the new lease. Is now a better time?
Yes, now is a better time, and you know how passionate I am about the veteran community. So just like the Willow team is out there at the soup kitchen, we're at the American Legion, and we do a lot of fundraisers for homeless vets. There's a really amazing, I don't want to say movement. I don't know what it's called, but the American Legion in Stewart has partnered with a local dentist who does dental work for the homeless vets at no cost, and the American Legion offsets that the cost of that. So I think that's super cool. But anyway, I share all that because I've been super passionate about the veteran community in the past, and I was really disappointed that the VA loan was getting overlooked as a viable option when the market was so hot. So to answer your question, yes, it's a much better time to do anything on the buy side right now than it was a year ago. You can negotiate, you can get a seller contribution, you can use that contribution for closing costs, you can use it for an interest rate buy down. There's so much of the normal market coming back into play. And while I've got Heather here, are you seeing that in your practice? Are you seeing more contingencies or more concessions rather on the seller side? People are participating again?
Yeah, the sellers are playing again.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm also starting to see those Homes for Heroes.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. That's a great program too. And we're working on our own version of a hero loan program for the veteran community that and actually I might come to you about this too, because we need some title partners to participate. And it's so early in the early part of it that I haven't mentioned it yet, but we're working on that where we can bring a group of service providers, real estate, mortgage, and title together and do our own little version of that, if you will, to kind of get them even farther down the path to home ownership. So super excited. But yes, to answer your, and Heather just nodded, she's in on that. So we're going to put that together. But to answer your question, it is a far better time this year than last to jump in with your VA loan. So I hope that helped. Hey, Dom, what else do we have?
Gloria is asking, what are the typical costs to buy down the interest rate on the mortgage? How does this work?
Hey, that's a great question. So you've been hearing me beat that drum for a few weeks about buying the rate down with a seller concession if possible. But so sadly, it's not a fixed calculation. It's always a little bit different lender to lender, and it's a little bit different day to day because it's based on live pricing. But a rule of thumb that we used to always use, and it's kind of close, is a 1% of the loan amount will buy the rate down a quarter point. So to use very basic math, 4% concession would buy it down a full point. Now, again, I say that all, but I also need to share that that's going to be predicated on the rate of the day and the lender, but that kind of gives you an idea. And then people are often confused. That's a permanent rate buy down. It never adjusts. It never goes back. So if you buy your rate down a half a point at closing or a full point, whatever it is, whatever that math works out to be, that's your rate for the entirety of the loan. There's all strategies around, or also strategies rather, around like a 3-2-1 rate buy down. Those are starting to come back, but those are a buy down for the first year, and then they step up over the next 3 to get to the normal fully indexed rate, if you will. But the buy down is a one-time fee paid up front, and then you get the low rate for the life of the loan. So I hope that answers your question. I got a little convoluted there, but if you need more information, you can always give us a shout during the week. But hey, we're going to jump into one more quick break, and we'll be right back for more of your questions.
Buying a home can be stressful. Willow Title Services will help you close the deal. Offering tailored services for your unique home buying needs, you'll have a single team member guide you from day one to the day you get your keys. They have a combined 50 years of experience, so trust the closing experts and contact them today. Visit WillowTitleServices.com. That's WillowTitleServices.com. Willow Title Services is rooted in experience to help you get to closing.
Here's another 5-star review.
We kept our business above water with credit cards during the pandemic. I'm glad we did. Business is better than ever. But I didn't want to be a slave to those credit card payments. I called Mark about the rec loan he advertises. Long story short, we did a rec refinance and paid off everything, even the car. Now we only have the mortgage payment. We're saving a bunch every month. Yes, we are happy to recommend Mark and the Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallygreatagents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallygreatagents.com. www.reallygreatagents.com.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right, we are back, and I can remember the number because I just heard the announcer say it. 561-291-8569 is the Anytime hotline, and that is how you get your questions on the air. And we're going to squeeze another question in, so let me throw it over to Dom and see what he's got teed up.
Alex sent this email. We're just starting looking at houses, and now I have a great opportunity with a new company. If I switch jobs now, will that cause a problem? We haven't applied for a loan yet.
Hey, Alex, that is a great question, and there's two answers, right? Maybe. Actually, that's one answer. So if you're getting a job in the same field, so this happens all the time, right? You manage a construction company, and another construction company has just lured you away and offered you a better salary. And you make a move, and you're going from a like industry to a like industry, and you're going from a like position to a like position. And hopefully, you said great opportunity, so hopefully an increased salary. That won't cause a problem. The challenge is if you're going from a salaried position to a commission position, or you're going from industry to a different industry. You haven't been established yet in that new industry, and then in the role of a commissions salesperson, you're typically, sometimes 1 year, but typically you're going to want a 2-year established income history in that new position, getting paid that new way. So I would love to talk to you in a little more detail about that, because if you're going like to like and it's salary to salary, it shouldn't be an issue. But excuse me, give us a call during the week, 561-291-8569, or just shoot me an email with a little more information, and I'll try to bounce back a quick answer before I leave the studio. So I hope that helped. Hey, we had some really great questions so far this week. I always enjoy the question time. There were some good ones around there. I know we've got a few more stacked up. I'm going to do my best to answer everybody via email or text before I leave the studio, but we're coming to the end of another episode of the Mr. Mortgage Show, and I just wanted to thank Heather for being with us today. I thought that was super insightful.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really enjoyed it, and always happy to be a part of anything with Willow Title Services. So one more time, if you need Heather and her team, go to willowtitleservices.com or check them out online at willowtitleservices.com, or give them a call at 561-737-1630. And this is the part of the show where I'm going to ask you for a favor. If you found any of this interesting, any of it insightful, if you found what we do here useful, please share the show. We're always trying to grow the audience. Our goal is to give you information that you can find useful so you can go out there and make better decisions for you and your family. Because, guys, if we're only reading the headlines, we're missing the majority of what's going on out there. And those headlines are just like those reels on Facebook. You're scrolling through, they get your attention, and then 45 minutes later, you're sitting on the couch. You have no idea what just happened. You don't even know what you just looked at. There's no exchange of value there. It's just you exchanged your time for something that got your attention. And that's what's happening with these headlines. We talk about it all the time. These big words they're using, surge and this and that, and we read the data, and the information is never as bad as the headlines lead you to believe. So share the show. Go to MrMortgageRadio.com. You'll find the podcast. You'll find all of the replays of the show. Go to the iHeart app, search The Mr. Mortgage Show. You can listen to us there. Go to the Facebook page, search The Mr. Mortgage Show. We'll pop up. And then the corporate site is super easy, www.mr.mortgage, never a .com. Just type in mr.mortgage and we'll pop up. So if you haven't gotten the idea, you can put Mr. Mortgage just about anywhere and we'll pop up on Google. Actually, sometimes we'll pop up where you don't even expect us. So I really appreciate everyone's participation. We always enjoy spending some time with you. So I thank you for that. I read it somewhere. I don't know if it was said or I read it, but it was something to the effect that if someone is willing to give you their time, cherish it, because that's a piece of their life they're never going to get back. And we really try to do that. We try to design the show to answer your questions and give you the real information so you can exhale, don't get stressed, and go out there and do what you have to do, make the best decisions for you and your family. And we talk about it all the time, guys. I know clients who bought real estate at the height of the bubble. The bubble burst. They still own it today, and they're in the profit. So anyway, that's the end of another show. Dom and I will be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. So everybody have a fantastic week. Say goodbye, Heather.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
That's a wrap. Join Mark Eitel next week for more thrilling, edge-of-your-seat discussions about real estate and mortgages, right here on The Mr. Mortgage Show.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of The Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com, www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.